Thought is not just in your head. This single realization, if fully absorbed, could rewrite the way you walk through life. Because for most of us, thought has always felt like an internal event, silent, invisible, and confined within the borders of our skulls. We've been taught that what we think stays with us unless we speak it, that it has no mass, no velocity, no real consequence unless acted upon. But what if that were a grave misperception? What if thought is actually light in disguise, vibrational energy that doesn't just echo in your mind, but ripples through the fabric of reality? From the earliest moments of awareness, you were taught to distinguish the inner world from the outer one. The inner world was yours, private, controllable. The outer world was fixed, objective, impersonal. But quantum philosophy quietly whispers a different story, one where the boundary between the observer and the observed collapses under scrutiny. In this world, thought doesn't just interpret reality, it contributes to creating it. You've likely heard the phrase, energy flows where attention goes. It sounds poetic, but what if it were literal? Every time you fixate on a fear, a hope, a mental image, your brain doesn't just light up internally. It emits subtle electromagnetic fields, ripples in the invisible pond of the quantum field. These aren't just metaphors. They're the beginning of a truth we've long ignored, that thought is frequency, and frequency is creation. Imagine a lighthouse casting beams across the ocean. Now replace the beam with your focused thoughts. You are the lighthouse, and the waters, the world, shimmer in response. This is not about magical thinking. It's about recognizing that thought, when emotionally charged and sustained, becomes a signal, a code, a pattern that the quantum field, the infinite sea of probability, reads and responds to. You may think, but I've worried before and nothing happened, or I've dreamed big and nothing changed. That's because the field doesn't respond to casual wishing. It responds to dominant patterns. The emotion-laced, repetitive, persistent beliefs that become the background radiation of your daily existence. The field listens to consistency. So if your surface thoughts say, I'm worthy, but your emotional signature whispers, I'm not enough, the latter is what gets broadcasted. Let's make this simple. You are not a person having thoughts. You are thought having a person. You are awareness wrapped in identity. And every time you think, you send instructions into the matrix of possibility. This matrix, the quantum field, is not far away. It is not out there. It's here. It's in your breath, in the stillness between heartbeats. It's inside the way you look at someone you love. It's the pulse of life before you name it. And you're dancing with it every second, whether you know it or not. Pause here. Let this settle. Because this realization isn't meant to make you afraid of your thoughts. It's meant to wake you up. You're not a helpless bystander watching reality happen. You're a participant in the most sacred collaboration imaginable. Every thought you choose is a brushstroke on the canvas of existence. So ask yourself, what have you been painting? What inner monologue has been shaping the probabilities around you? Where in your life are you still chasing something you don't believe you deserve? We often treat the mind as a storage room for memories, anxieties, and daydreams. But the mind is more like a tuning dial. Whatever station you land on becomes the soundtrack of your life. And if you keep tuning into fear, resentment, lack, or bitterness, don't be surprised when those frequencies show up in your relationships, your career, your health. The field doesn't punish. It reflects. You see, reality isn't solid in the way we think it is. It's more like a movie playing on a screen, and your consciousness is the projector. You've just forgotten you're holding the reel. Thoughts are not harmless, but they're not curses either. They are instruments. And like any instrument, they can create chaos or harmony depending on how they're played. This is the beginning of the Great Awakening. Realizing that your mind is not a prisoner of circumstance, but a prism of creation. And when light passes through that prism, your thought, it becomes color, form, pattern, possibility. It becomes life, sculpted by awareness. You don't need to try harder to fix the world outside. You need to realize that the world outside is often mirroring what you've forgotten to nurture within. If thought is the spark, then your mind is the projector, and what you see outside is the movie it plays. This is where the ancient meets the modern, where mystical insight and quantum mechanics begin to shake hands. Most people still believe that the universe is something they are looking at, something separate. But the moment you open your eyes in the morning, the moment you become aware, a deeper truth is activated. You are not passively observing reality, you are selecting it. From an ocean of infinite potential, your mind, by the sheer act of attention, brings one version into being. Think about it. You don't see the world as it is, you see it as you are. If your inner narrative is soaked in fear, then the same world will look threatening. If your beliefs are saturated in unworthiness, then opportunities will either feel unreachable or go unseen entirely. What changed? Not the world, but the lens through which you projected it. This is the core of quantum philosophy, what physicists call the observer effect. On a subatomic level, particles exist in a state of potential until observed. Then they collapse into a fixed state. A particle, a position, a reality. You're doing that constantly, not just in a lab, but in your life. You are the observer, and more than that, you are the chooser. But let's ground this in something tangible. Picture yourself walking into a room of strangers. If you carry a belief that you're awkward or unwanted, you will unconsciously scan for rejection. A glance not returned becomes evidence. A missed hello becomes proof. That version of reality crystallizes because you were attuned to it. But if you walk in with a belief that you are welcome, that you belong, your eyes will find smiles, your energy will draw warmth, and reality reshapes to match that inner script. This isn't imagination. This is co-creation. The world is not happening to you. It's happening with you. The quantum field, the invisible, energetic web underlying all things, does not judge. It doesn't decide what's good or bad for you. It simply amplifies the reality you're tuned to, like a mirror that doesn't argue. If your dominant thought is, life is hard, the field nods and responds, as you wish. If your belief is, I always get abandoned, it reflects abandonment, not as punishment but as obedience. Not because it's true, but because you've believed it into form. This isn't about blaming yourself for every misfortune. It's about reclaiming authorship. It's about seeing that your mind is more than a processor. It's a portal. And the stories you tell inside it, the emotions you feed into it, become the scaffolding for the world you live in. This is why surface-level affirmations often fall flat. You can say I am rich 1,000 times, but if your subconscious projector is still running the reel of I am broke, that's the film that plays. The quantum field doesn't listen to words, it listens to belief. It listens to the emotion under the thought, the signal beneath the noise. So what's broadcasting from you right now? Not what you hope for, not what you post about, but what you feel in the still moments, in the silence between distractions. That feeling, that's the signal. It's important to realize you are never manifesting just what you want. You are manifesting what you are. And what you are is a frequency, a combination of thought, emotion, belief, and identity humming in resonance with the infinite field. This is why healing old stories is so powerful. Because as you shift the inner projector, the movie changes. Not because the world suddenly transforms, but because you start tuning into a new possibility. A timeline that was always there, waiting for your permission to come alive. Here's the beautiful paradox. Nothing changes until you believe it already has. You can't keep checking to see if it's working. You have to walk into the room like you already belong. Like the love, the abundance, the peace you desire is already here. Because energetically, it is. But you won't experience it until your mind tunes to that station. And so the real work begins within. not by efforting to change the world, but by adjusting your internal frequency. The clearer your signal, the more coherent your reality becomes. The more aligned your thoughts, the more accurate your projection. And soon, what once felt like magic becomes predictable, natural, obvious. Reality is not waiting to prove something to you. It's waiting to echo what you already believe. If thought is the signal, then emotion is the amplifier. You can think of the mind as the transmitter, but without emotional frequency, the message sent into the quantum field is faint, inconsistent, easily overridden by background noise. Emotion gives your thought weight, depth, magnetic charge. It's the electricity that lights up the projection. Which is why the universe doesn't just respond to what you think, it responds to what you feel with conviction. It's one thing to say, "I want to be free." It's another to feel freedom pulsing in your body even when your circumstances suggest otherwise. That feeling, that embodied frequency, is what catches the attention of the field. It's what acts like a tuning fork, harmonizing your energy with the version of reality that mirrors that feeling. Your emotions are not random bursts of feeling. They are messengers, yes, but they are also creative forces. Joy, gratitude, awe, love, these elevate your frequency. They are expansive, fluid, magnetic. When you operate from these states, your energy becomes more coherent, more whole. You are less fragmented by internal contradiction. Your signal becomes clear, and clarity is everything. Because here's the truth, we are always manifesting, always. The question is, are you manifesting from coherence or from chaos? Are you projecting a frequency of trust or a tangle of anxiety and doubt? Most people don't realize that their dominant emotional state is what selects their life experience. They believe their emotions are simply reactions to what's happening. But the loop actually runs in reverse. The emotion you hold becomes the blueprint for what happens next. Think of your emotional frequency as a song you're always playing. If your song is sadness, you begin to resonate with situations that confirm it. If your song is resentment, you attract interactions that justify it. Not because you deserve pain, but because the field is faithful. It organizes around the dominant vibration. And here's where it gets even deeper. The field doesn't just bring you things, it entrains you to realities. Just like two tuning forks, if one is struck and brought close to another, the second begins to vibrate in harmony. This is how synchronicity works, not as luck, as resonance. So if you're stuck in patterns, repeating toxic relationships, financial hardship, or inner emptiness, it's not because you're cursed or broken. It's because at some level, that's the song you've been humming without even realizing it. The antidote isn't to shame yourself, it's to change the music. Start small. Begin by feeling the feeling you think success will give you, now. Feel the safety you believe love will bring you, now. That emotional state practiced daily becomes a magnet. It calls forth new options, new timelines. You don't chase the reality, you invite it. People often ask, how do I manifest what I want? The better question is, can I hold the vibration of what I want long enough for it to recognize me? That's the real work. Not forcing outcomes, but sustaining a frequency. Not demanding results, but becoming the version of you who naturally attracts those results. And that version, your highest self, is already encoded in you. You don't have to become someone else. You only have to stop broadcasting the pain of who you're not. Of course, this isn't easy, because pain, trauma, and old stories have momentum. You might feel hopeful one day and discouraged the next. That's okay. What matters is what you keep returning to. What you rehearse emotionally becomes what you live experientially. So ask yourself, what emotional home have I built without realizing it? Do I live in lack, in fear, in waiting? Or do I dwell in curiosity, in abundance, in openness? What am I feeling right now, and is that feeling aligned with the life I say I want? This is the gateway. Not pretending, but choosing. Choosing love even when it hurts. Choosing faith even when the evidence is thin. Choosing peace not as avoidance, but as power. When you become the master of your inner state, the outer world has no choice but to bow. The field doesn't resist your will, it waits for your coherence. And the more consistent your emotion, the more magnetic your life becomes. So don't chase miracles. Broadcast them, feel them before they come. Feel them into being. Let your heart become the transmitter. Let your joy become the permission slip. Let your frequency become the proof. You may be doing everything right on the surface, visualizing, affirming, setting intentions, but if your inner foundation is built on fear, you'll find yourself stuck in a strange loop. A loop where your desires remain just out of reach. A loop where your life feels like a series of delays and disappointments, despite your best efforts. This is not because you're failing. It's because you're still creating from survival. Let's break this down. Most of us have spent years, even decades, cultivating beliefs rooted in lack. We learn them from childhood wounds, societal programming, and the invisible rules of a world that rewards control and caution. Somewhere along the way, we confused vigilance with safety. We started believing that we had to protect ourselves from life rather than participate in it. And from that place, we built entire identities. You can't create miracles from a survival mindset because survival is not creation, it is reaction. It's a closed loop that scans for danger, expects the worst, and views possibility with suspicion. It's where you manifest not from what you truly want, but from what you're terrified of losing. And the field, loyal and non-judgmental, responds accordingly. So what does it look like when someone is manifesting from fear? It looks like chasing money while constantly worrying there's never enough. It looks like yearning for love while secretly believing you're too much or not enough to be chosen. It looks like working hard, pushing harder, and still wondering why things aren't flowing. That's the distortion. That's the internal static that keeps your signal from reaching clarity. And the truth is, most people don't even realize they're stuck in this loop. They think they're being realistic. They think they're planning. They think they're just being careful. But deep down, they're rehearsing failure, preparing for disappointment. And as long as your thoughts are tinted by unworthiness and your emotions flavored with doubt, the field will echo that dissonance back to you. So how do you break the loop? You start by noticing it. You become radically honest with yourself. Not to criticize, but to see. Where are you still operating from the past? Where are you still bracing for something to go wrong? Where have you convinced yourself that you need to prove your worth before you can receive? Awareness dissolves illusion. And once you see the pattern, you don't fight it. You feel your way through it. You sit with the fear. You hold space for the shame. You let the grief speak. Because beneath every survival pattern is a younger self who needed protection. And that part of you doesn't need to be fixed. It needs to be integrated, loved, upgraded. Here's a deeper truth. The version of you that is worthy of everything you desire is not someone you become. It's someone you remember. You were born with that worth. You just forgot it under layers of shoulds and shouldn'ts. And the more you strip away those layers, the more you return to yourself. And when you do, when your signal becomes clear, when your frequency stops apologizing, the universe responds fast. Not because you manipulated it, but because you finally stopped interfering. People often ask, how do I let go of control? The answer is, by healing the part of you that never felt safe unless it was controlling. You don't need to micromanage the quantum field. You need to become someone who trusts it. That shift from force to flow, from effort to ease, is subtle but seismic. It's when you stop begging reality to change and start embodying the change yourself. And then, like tuning into a new radio station, a new reality becomes audible, available, aligned. So ask yourself, what would I stop doing if I fully trusted life? What would I start receiving if I stopped rehearsing struggle? These are not passive questions, they are invitations. They are frequency-shifting moments disguised as reflections. This is how the loop ends, not with effort but with embodiment, not by fixing your life but by remembering who you are. You are not broken, you are broadcasting, and once your broadcast stops echoing fear, the field will stop returning it. It has no agenda, it only has resonance, so don't beg for a new life, broadcast one. There comes a moment when you realize that creating from fear will always leave you empty, even when it works, because the victories built on proving yourself, on trying to outrun your wounds, never feel like home. They're hollow triumphs, beautiful prisons. And so a new invitation arises, to create from love, from fullness, from the quiet power of already being enough. This is not poetic idealism. This is quantum law in motion. The field doesn't just respond to desperation, it reflects state. And love is the most coherent, most magnetic, most stable state you can inhabit. Not romantic love, not external validation, but the love that comes from knowing your essence is already whole, already light. Creating from this place means you're no longer trying to earn the dream, you're embodying it, living it now, being it now. Not waiting for the thing to come before you feel the feeling, but feeling the feeling so fully that the thing has no choice but to come. This is where reality bends. This is where timelines shift. Because when you walk through your life, radiating the signal of enoughness, of peace, of openness, the quantum field reorganizes around that coherence. You meet the right people. Opportunities find you. Doors open, not because you chase them, but because you aligned with them. And the truth is, this is not just about manifesting things. It's about manifesting a version of you who doesn't need to hustle for love, for safety, for permission. It's about remembering that your mind was never meant to be a cage. It was always a light beam. Your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs, they are light. They are waves collapsing into form. They are sacred technology. So what will you do with this power? Most people wait for life to give them permission to believe. They wait for the bank account to grow before feeling secure. They wait for the relationship to begin before loving themselves. But the quantum field doesn't work on reward. It works on reflection. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are brave enough to believe. And belief isn't just mental repetition. It's a lived frequency, a felt truth. That's why you must become the person who already has what they desire before the evidence shows up. That's the secret. Live as if. Not from delusion, but from declaration. Act not because you're trying to prove something, but because you're affirming something. You are not wishing anymore. You're broadcasting. So what does that look like? It means treating yourself like someone who matters, even when no one's watching. It means choosing peace over drama, even when chaos feels familiar. It means allowing joy, even when your mind says it's too soon, too risky, too fragile. It means becoming so rooted in your inner light that the shadows outside can't convince you to dim it. This is how reality changes, not by demanding more from the world, but by becoming more of yourself. When you choose love over lack, not just once, but consistently, you become a tuning fork for miracles. Not because you forced them, but because you became resonant with them. This is not spiritual bypassing, it's spiritual embodiment. It's choosing the frequency of your desired life and living from it. No longer waiting, no longer negotiating with your worth, no longer shrinking to fit the expectations of an unconscious world. So ask yourself, where in my life am I still negotiating with my worth? What part of me is still waiting for proof that I am enough? And what would shift if I stopped asking for permission to shine? Because you are light. You always were. The mind is not your prison, it is your paintbrush. Your belief is not a question, it is the seed. And your feeling is not a weakness, it is the magnet. Create from love and the field responds in kind. Be the vibration of your future. And your future becomes now. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the wave deciding where to crash. Let this be the moment you remember who you are, not who the world told you to be, not who your fears have shaped you into, but the you that exists beneath the noise. The you that is already enough, already worthy, already aligned with the highest vision of your life. The truth is, you've never been waiting for a sign. You've been waiting for permission to believe what your soul already knows. You are the creator. You are the light. You are the signal. No matter how many times you've been told to play small, to be realistic, to prepare for disappointment, none of that changes the truth of your power. You don't need to hustle to prove it. You just need to begin living in alignment with the frequency of who you already are. So start now, not with a grand gesture, but with a choice. Choose to see your thoughts as light. Choose to feel before proof. Choose to stand in your worth before the world reflects it. Because when you do, reality has no choice but to follow. And if this stirred something inside you, don't let it fade. Reflect on it. Share it. Practice it. If you feel called, leave a comment, tell your story, or subscribe for more soul-deep awakenings. We're all walking each other home, one vibration at a time.